Claude Debussy was a French composer who is sometimes seen as the first Impressionist composer, although he vigorously rejected the term. He was among the most influential composers of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Subscribe and click the bell for more music history and string instrument care. Give this a like and sign up to our newsletter linked below for even more insights. Debussy, born on August 22, 1862 in Saint-Germain-en-Laye, France, came from a middle-income family where both parents were business people with cultural involvement that was barely existent. He was admitted to the Conservatoire de Paris, an elite music school, at a young age to study music. He honed his skills over the years, culminating in the famous Pelléas et Mélisande opera in 1902. Although Debussy is known all over the world, even up to this day, there are many things about him that aren't much known. He started college at the age of 10. Debussy showed enough musical talent to be admitted to the Conservatoire de Paris Music College at just 10 years old. He was said to be enjoying playing the piano so much that his parents thought he would be a piano virtuoso. While at college, he developed a unique music taste and created innovative compositions, much to the displeasure of the professors. Unfortunately, the disapproval of his style meant that he lacked the support he required to develop his skills quickly. However, he still beat the odds and matured in his art, eventually leading him to the fame he's known for. He worked with Nadezhda von Meck. Nadezhda von Meck was a wealthy patron of the arts and businesswoman. Aside from being a lover of music, she also loved to travel, vacationing in Europe in the summers. In the summers of 1880 to 1882, she hired Debussy for her private shows with family and friends. She also arranged for him to teach her children piano lessons. At the same time, she introduced Debussy to the affluent affairs who attended her parties. At some point, she sent some of Debussy's compositions to Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky, who was one of the recipients of her financial support. Unfortunately, the old Russian composer was not impressed and criticized much of Debussy's work. His style ran out of favor at the Prix de Rome. Debussy entered the Prix de Rome music competition a record 3 times. He lost 2 of the 3 times he tried, as the judges were more conservative and could not comprehend his style. It was only after Debussy became a little more conservative with his style that the judges recognized it and handed him victory. The piece that won the competition was called L'Enfant Prodigue, and the award came with a 4-year scholarship to the Académie des Beaux-Arts and a residence at Villa Medici for further studies in music. Debussy hated having his compositions labeled as Impressionist music. He felt that Impressionism was a way critics tried to box his innovative works of art into a fixed mindset. According to Debussy, he was trying to do something different apart from everyone around him, and the style was good. However, because critics were stuck in their old ways of thinking, they couldn't understand what he was doing and had to rely on his moniker to make sense of his works. Until his death, Debussy did not accept the Impressionist artist title. As author Marcel Dietschy puts in his biography of Debussy, there were women at each end of Debussy's career crossroads. His allure and success attracted women like ivy to a wall. Debussy first lived with Gabrielle Dupont for 10 years as he made a name for himself. However, he unceremoniously left her and married Rosalie Techier, a model. After 5 years with Rosalie, he divorced her for Aimé Bardac. They stayed as lovers for 5 years before marrying and having their only child. Many other women in his life did not come into the limelight. However, Debussy's relationships with women were complex and intense, leaving his wife to attempt taking her life with a gun after he left her and scandalizing many close friends and supporters. He transformed Paul Verlaine's poem into music. One of the most Debussy piano pieces ever produced was called Clair de Lune. The piece was the third of his 4th movement work pieces called Suite Bergamasque in 1890. However, he decided it was not good enough for production and remastered it several times before finally publishing in 1905. The piece contains excerpts and draws inspiration from a poem called Clair de Lune by Paul Verlaine. This poem talked about moonlight and the beauty of songs blended with its light while praising the amazing features of nature. He left unfinished operatic projects. Debussy only published 1 opera before his death. However, he was working on other projects at the same time. 2 of these projects were adaptations made from the Edgar Allan Poe's work. The first piece was titled Le Diable dans la Belle Foy, and was adapted from a story by Poe called The Devil in the Belfry. The second piece was called Chute de la Maison Usher and was based on a short story called The Fall of the House of Usher. Sadly, he did not have enough time to complete and publish them. His published opera was a 5-act story. The only opera that Debussy published, Belles et Mélisande, was a 5-act love story that propelled him into fame. This act premiered at the 1902 Opéra Comique that was held in Paris. The libretto was based on a play by Maurice Maeterlinck that had the same name. Debussy's opera is centered on a love triangle in which a prince rescues a girl from the forest, only for her to become attached to his half-brother, which causes the brother's feelings of jealousy and leads to death. The girl later dies while giving birth. In yet another excellent adaptation of a poem, Debussy tells a story about the dreams of a half-human creature called Fawn. The piece was called Prélude à l'après-midi d'enfant and was adapted from a poem by Stéphane Mallarmé. Debussy's symphonic orchestra debuted in 1894. In his words, Debussy said that his piece did not try to interpret the famous poem, but instead added the scenes that succeeded the story. Debussy received the news that he had colon cancer in 1909. This was the start of a rapid downward spiral in his health. He died on March 25, 1918, when France was engaged in the Battle of the Somme in World War II. His funeral took place in deserted streets as everyone had hid from the approaching German army. Debussy was laid to rest alongside other great names such as Edith Piaf, Jim Morrison, and Oscar Wilde. However, his body was later moved to Passy Cemetery after the Germans bombed this cemetery. Debussy will always be remembered as the forefather of 20th century music. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell for more music history and string instrument care. Give this a like and sign up to the newsletter linked below to never miss a post. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.